Ladies and gentlemen, the Holy Paladin. I do truly worry about making these kind of vids because a lot of people see what I'm about to say because yes, it is a negative video as me being a douche. Unfortunately, that's just not the case. As much as it would be nice if it was just me being an absolute cockend, that's just not really what's happening. This is just how the class is, and therefore you should need to be aware of it, angry or not. So, without further ado, this seems to be one of the healers that is being the most re-rolled, and rightfully so, I would say. Rightfully so. I put a fair few hours into this one, and with any video, I always put quite a lot of time into it. And this one took a little bit of extra effort, as it was just really fine-tuning exactly how I wanted to present it to you. What's going on with it? How is it playing? Let's start with how it's going to be playing if you stick with the Holy Paladin in Warlords of Draenor. You have the removal of instant cast spells, which is a big bugbear. So your Light of Dawn is casted, your Eternal Flame is casted, your only instant cast spell is in fact Holy Shock. Beyond that you have Holy Light and Flash of Light. Two single target heals, one is faster than the other, that is the difference. You still have Holy Radiance, which will generate your Holy Power, and you have Crusader Strike to generate Holy Power. And in the previous incarnation of this video, when we looked at it early on in the beta, there was a problem with the output of the Holy Paladin. Wasn't actually getting enough output and enough Holy Power generated in order to be competitive with the other healers. As with all healer stuff, when it comes to betas, it's a case of working with what you have to make it work, not really how the class is supposed to be played. Similar to how we spoke on the Mistweaver, is players will do what's needed in order to keep people alive rather than what's intended. So what they had there was a macro with the level 100 talent where you get the extra beacon, a beacon of faith. And that meant macroing your beacons around, so when you casted heals on them, you will in fact gain holy power from it. And that was how they were competing. That was how they were being competitive and how they were keeping up with other healers. Blizzard did not like that. I'm glad to say it was a horrible idea, a horrible system. It was sad that it was working, and I refused to play it, although I told you about it. So Blizzard decided to put quite a large cooldown on the beacons. I think it's about 5 seconds or something along those lines, but 3 seconds, making macros pointless. That was how they did that, and also I believe they've stopped you generating any sort of holy power from that as well, which is a little bit sad. You refund some of the mana cost of your heals. Bummerino. Bummerino. They also didn't like people using Crusader Strike in melee in order to generate more holy power. So what they did is they doubled the cost of Crusader Strike, meaning that it's now too goddamn expensive to use there. It costs you 3,200 mana. That's a pretty big deal on a regular basis. A pretty big fucking deal. And so then they got rid of that. But they didn't give anything back. What did you lose in Warlords of Draenor? Divine Favor, Guiding the Ancient Kings, all this really cool stuff, and all you have now is Avenging Wrath as your cooldown. No Divine Plea, all that is gone, so you have one cooldown, which is in fact your Avenging Wrath, and of course on top of that you have a talented choice, which would be something like Holy Avenger if you want another cooldown, and of course your Execution Sentence, Prism, and Light's Hammer. And you can also choose Beacon of Insight, which people are trying to get some benefit out of, trying to make it work. Not really happening yet, but lots of ideas flying around. It feels like it's too late in the day in order to get significant changes to how talents work. Although we have just seen Fury Warriors get a surgical slice with Colossus Smash being removed. Perhaps there is still hope. Perhaps there is still hope. People are angry. So that's the gameplay style. You've got 2 single target heals. You've got an AoE heal, which does a pitiful amount. It's going to be said Holy Radiance is pretty shit. And then you've got some way of spending your Holy Power, which would usually be Eternal Flame. That tends to be the go-to, as it was in Mists of Pandaria. And, of course, Light of Dawn. So that's the way you can do that. Now, people are really sick and tired of Holy Power. And they're like, the Holy Power is not working out for Holy Paladins at all, and it's time to get rid of it and do something else with it. I actually disagree with that sentiment. I think that is a result of the changes, a byproduct of what the actual mainstream problem is with this. And it was something I've been testing over the few hours that I've been going at this is Holy Power the problem? And I do not believe it is. What I do believe to be the problem is the added cast time to Eternal Flame and Light of Dawn. I believe that is what's caused Holy Power to now feel like an absolute burden. And it's because They're not exciting in any way. Generating holy power should be allowing you to do something very cool. On a Ret Paladin, of course, you get your major finisher or Divine Storm, and we've seen the joy that comes from those and the interaction that comes with those abilities. And of course, on a Prot Warrior, your active mitigation comes from there. So that's always good. It's always exciting. It's something to be managing, something to be playing with, and that's really nice. With the Holy Paladin, however, you have the option of two very uninspired abilities. And there's no other way to say it, is that it's very difficult from a gameplay standpoint to justify the difference between a Holy Light, a Flash of Light, and an Eternal Flame. And that's just the way it is, or a Word of Glory should you take it. They're both 3 single target heals with similar cast times, and one of them happens to contain a hot aspect to it. And that is fucking boring! Oh my god, it's so boring. So boring. I can't get over it. And it's the same with Light of Dawn. We get 3 holy power. We've achieved something there. We've generated holy power. We've been really cool about keeping our holy shock on cooldown. All that kind of stuff. And our payoff for that is a heal that feels very similar to Holy Radiance. It's exactly the same feeling when you press it. You have a Holy Radiance with a cast time of fucking 2 seconds and a Light of Dawn with a cast time of 1.5 seconds. Amaze! I'm blown away by this ability. Not in any way, shape, or form. Absolute garbage. And it feels like Holy Power is now a waste of time because, frankly, these abilities don't feel any different to what I'm pressing otherwise. They don't. They just feel exactly the same. There is nothing fun about gaining holy power anymore. And I can see why the community is like, holy power just sucks now, and it's actually a burden. I would rather have a hot, I would rather have some differentiation in my gameplay. Some differentiation in my gameplay. And Holy Paladins just don't have any. Does that mean they're not able to put out significant numbers? We'll move on to that in a second. But the foundation of the spec, is absolutely inadequate. It's not fun. For me personally, I remember some people will still enjoy the Holy Paladin until the day they die. But I am telling you now, I played this and I was absolutely out of my mind bored compared to every other healer in the game. I've got a faster heal, a slower heal, and then another heal that all pretty much do the same thing. And you run into the situation where your output is pretty weak on a Holy Paladin. I have chosen in the background particularly nasty groups. It's also interesting, I'm going to show you some monk in the background right now. And that's a monk who was a little bit slacky on getting rid of Stagger, and you can see how hard it is to heal them. Every single pack was Blessing of Sacrifice, Avenging Wrath on trash to get through the trash without that guy dying. And it's not his fault. Not his fault. That's just the way Brewmasters are working now. But you're going to be in for a bad time in a lot of situations. Really bad time. And that's quite sad to see. Really is quite sad to see. Now, how has Blizzard sort of countered this as they've introduced the PvE tier sets? And my god, Paladins are pretty pleased with this, but it's the biggest crutch I've seen in a game in such a long time in World of Warcraft. I've not seen a crutch like this since so long ago. The tier piece bonuses allow you to generate a free spell. And so if you cast an Eternal Flame, you have a chance to get a free Light of Dawn. If you cast a Light of Dawn, you get a chance at a free Eternal Flame. This is quite similar to the Ret Paladin because it becomes procky madness. Real procky madness. And of course, if you take Divine Purpose, which can then give you a free spender of 3 holy power, these all proc off each other. And in random scenarios, you have these RNG moments where you just can't get rid of your procs. And it's annoying. Whereas a Ret Paladin is like an intense amount of fun with all the crazy things you can pull off there. You're still working between these two pretty boring spells that keep procking off each other, and it's the biggest crutch ever because obviously with Divine Purpose and the ability to do this, you can end up in scenarios where you're going Eternal Flame, Light of Dawn, Eternal Flame, and Light of Dawn, Eternal Flame, and Light of Dawn, Light of Dawn, and Eternal Flame, and you're moving backwards and forwards all the time, and you're putting out incredible healing that is so dull. So dull to generate. But look at the healing meters. Paladins are fine, right guys? Paladins are absolutely okay. In terms of healing output, sure. Sure, they're absolutely fine. But my god, I can totally see why people are just like, this class is just not working anymore. This is so boring. The spec is worse than it's ever been. And it's disheartening to look through comments and discussions of everything people have suggested to try and make it work. And honestly, I think a lot of it could be fixed with just making Eternal Flame and Light of Dawn instant cast. Stuff to do on the move. Give some excitement to the 3 Holy Power. There's a lack of on-demand healing. It's got to be said, Holy Shock heals for nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's like 10k healing. It's crap. Absolute crap when people are running 270k HP. 10k? Come on. Come on, dude. 10k? Give me a friggin' break here. 10k on cooldown? Pfft. Every 5 seconds a 10k heal? It's a waste of time. It's absolute garbage. We need stuff to do on the move. Some mobility, some interaction, some fun to be had. And it's just not happening. But because of their ability to heal 2 tanks at once, put out with a lot of these procs, which seems to be the solution that Blizzard has come up with, then they are actually competing and they're doing successfully. But the important stuff that really counts, on-demand healing, you can't really count Lay on Hands as an on-demand healing when it's cooldown. You can't do that. And it needs more than that. You need more on-the-spot stuff rather than running around and firing off 10k. Because it's just not worthwhile. It's generating me holy power. I'm using a boring... This is the situation. I'm using a relatively boring spell in order to eventually generate the holy power to fire off a boring spell. And it's totally understandable. Totally understandable why people are miffed and asking for change and just trying and hoping and fingers crossed that something's different when you compare it to the other classes that can... We look at Mistweaver Monk, which could torpedo around, and Spinning Crane Gear can do all these kind of things. Sure, their output's maybe not in the right place, and mechanically they're still quite clunky, but look how much more fun I'm having. Resto Druids are able to do all kinds of crazy stuff on the move. Holy Priests have more utensils in the tool belt than anyone else in the game. All these things exist, and it's totally baffling why the Holy Paladin has been so stunted. It's been hit so hard by the cast time thing, and that was the biggest problem I had with it, is just everything feels the same. It doesn't matter what I cast, it all feels like exactly the same spell in a different wrapper, doing nothing different whatsoever. And with the current output, you can see in the background, you end up resorting to just spamming Flash of Light over and over and over and over again with the Holy Shocks to try and get some procs going just to keep up with the amount of damage coming out in Warlord's dungeons. And I don't feel that way on any other healer at all. I feel like I'm behind. I feel like I'm chasing my tail. I feel like without the raid tier, I mean, we're talking about raid tier bonuses that in many occasions I just have so little options in what to do in a 5-man normal. Bear that in mind. This is raid tier set bonuses. Sure, the gear is scaled down, but the procs still exist. And without them, in many situations, I would have been pretty goofed. I could have made it through it just fine. Don't get me wrong, but it would have been much, much tougher without raid tier set bonuses in order to get through this stuff. I'm sorry it's not a super positive video. I am sorry. I know you guys don't like it. I know you get angry at me, but there's not much else I can do because this is how it is. All right, guys? Take it easy. Bye-bye.